A routine patrol turned into chaos when a police K9 refused to leave a car's trunk, barking furiously as a crowd gathered. Officers pried it open, expecting drugs or weapons. Instead, what they uncovered inside left everyone frozen in disbelief, an unthinkable secret hidden in plain sight. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The late afternoon sun dipped low over the supermarket parking lot, where shoppers bustled in and out with bags of groceries. Among them, a lone car sat oddly out of place, dusty, with tinted windows, and parked for hours without movement. A few concerned citizens had called it in, reporting unease about the vehicle. When the patrol unit arrived, it felt like just another routine check. Officers scanned the car from the outside. No broken glass, no signs of forced entry, nothing immediately alarming. Still, something about the silence around that trunk unsettled them. They decided to call in the K9. The K9 unit arrived moments later, a sharp-eyed German shepherd straining at the leash. His handler gave the command, and the dog began circling the vehicle, nose pressed close to the metal. At first, everything seemed routine, sniffing along the tires, the doors, the hood. But when he reached the trunk, his behavior changed instantly. The dog stiffened, ears pricked, tail rigid. A low growl rumbled from his chest before erupting into sharp, frantic barks that echoed across the lot. He pawed at the trunk, claws scraping against the paint, refusing to move on. Shoppers stopped in their tracks, staring at the sudden frenzy. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't a false alert. The K9's instincts were rarely wrong. The handler tugged gently, but the dog wouldn't budge, his entire focus locked on that sealed trunk. Whatever was inside, it wasn't ordinary cargo. The sharp barks grew louder, bouncing off the rows of cars, drawing a crowd of curious onlookers. The officers knew the dog wasn't mistaken, but uncertainty gnawed at them. Was it drugs? Weapons? Or something far worse? The trunk seemed ordinary from the outside, yet the K9's desperation suggested otherwise. One officer pressed his ear against the steel, straining to listen. For a moment, nothing, just silence. Then a faint sound, so soft he almost doubted. A shuffle, like something moving. His eyes widened, and he backed away quickly. The car's owner was nowhere to be found. No license plate traced locally, no witnesses stepping forward. The mystery deepened. Yet every second felt heavier with the K9 barking frantically, as if time was running out. The officers gathered in a tight circle, debating their next move. Breaking open the trunk without a warrant was risky, but hesitation could mean lives at stake. The handler tugged the dog back, but he lunged again, teeth bared at the latch. Finally, their captain's voice cut through the noise. Enough waiting. Open it. Now. The decision sent a ripple of urgency through the officers. One grabbed a crowbar, another a heavy tool used for forced entry. The K9 barked wildly, leaping toward the trunk as if urging them to move faster. Shoppers in the lot formed a hesitant circle, whispering nervously about what might be hidden inside. The first strike rang out, a metallic clang that echoed across the pavement. Gasps followed. The second strike bent the latch, while the dog's barks grew more frantic, his paws digging into the asphalt. Sweat dripped from the officer's forehead as he wedged the bar deeper. With one final heave, the lock snapped. The trunk creaked, opening just a fraction. A rush of foul, stagnant air seeped out, causing several bystanders to cover their noses. The K9 froze, ears forward, hackles raised. Whatever was inside was no ordinary discovery. The officers slowly pried the trunk wider, flashlights cutting into the darkness. For a moment, all they saw was blackness, thick and suffocating. Then came the stench, stale air mixed with something sharp and unnatural, making their stomachs tighten. The crowd stepped back, murmurs spreading like wildfire. Inside, a large suitcase sat wedged tightly against the back wall, its surface scuffed and scratched as though something inside had pressed hard against it. One officer reached in cautiously, gloved hands brushing against the fabric. The K9 growled low, teeth bared, pulling at the leash as if warning them not to delay. "Bring it out," the captain ordered, his voice taut. Two officers gripped the suitcase and dragged it into the open. It was heavier than expected, the zipper straining against its seams. The dog barked sharply, circling the bag with unrelenting focus. The handler knelt, fingers trembling as he reached for the zipper. The world around them seemed to stop. No sounds of cars, no chatter from the crowd, only the harsh breaths of those waiting. Slowly, he pulled it open, the creak of metal teeth splitting the silence. Then, movement. Something inside shifted. The zipper slid open halfway, and a faint gasp echoed from within. Officers froze, their flashlights darting to the small gap. Then, a pair of wide, terrified eyes blinked back at them. The crowd erupted in cries of shock. "Dear God, there's someone inside," one officer whispered. Hands moved quickly now, tugging the zipper all the way down. The suitcase fell open, revealing not clothes or contraband, but children, frightened, trembling, their small bodies crammed together in impossible confinement. There were several of them, their faces pale, lips cracked from thirst, eyes shimmering with tears of fear. Gasps and sobs broke out among the onlookers. Mothers covered their mouths, fathers clutched their children tighter. Officers dropped to their knees, their professional composure cracking under the weight of the scene. The K9 pressed close, tail wagging softly now, whining as one little hand reached out and touched his fur. For the first time, a flicker of relief crossed the children's faces. The officers looked at each other, hearts heavy but grateful they had arrived in time. What lay inside the trunk wasn't just a crime. It was a miracle waiting to be uncovered. Chaos turned into urgency. As officers sprang into action, one by one, the children were gently lifted from the suitcase and carried into the cool evening air. Their tiny limbs were stiff, their bodies weak, but the sight of uniforms and flashing lights brought them the first glimmer of safety. Medics rushed forward with blankets and bottles of water. Some children cried quietly, clinging to the rescuers, while others sat in stunned silence, too drained to speak. Parents in the growing crowd sobbed, praying these weren't strangers, but the faces they had long been searching for. Through it all, the K9 stayed close, sniffing each child carefully, then nudging them with his nose as if to reassure them. One small boy reached out and hugged the dog's neck tightly. For the first time that night, hope felt stronger than fear. As the children were rushed into ambulances, investigators swarmed the parking lot, determined to uncover who was behind. The horror. Inside the car, they found forged documents, burner phones, and maps marked with shipping routes. It didn't take long for the pieces to fit together. This was part of a trafficking operation, one that had been moving unnoticed through the city for months. The car's owner was tracked down within hours. Surveillance cameras showed a man abandoning the vehicle earlier that day, slipping into the crowd without a trace. But with the evidence left behind and the children rescued, his network began to unravel. Arrests followed swiftly, each suspect tied to a larger chain of organized crime. What had started as a routine patrol ended up exposing a criminal operation, far darker than anyone imagined. And at the center of it all stood one determined K9. Days later, the city gathered at the police headquarters for a special ceremony. Officers stood tall in uniform, but all eyes were on the German shepherd who had refused to leave that trunk. Draped in a new vest marked Hero, the K9 wagged his tail as children he saved ran forward, wrapping their arms around him. Parents wept openly, thanking the dog who had given them back what they thought was lost forever. Medals were pinned, speeches made, but the loudest applause came when the handler whispered, "Good boy," and the K9 leaned into him with quiet pride.